inheritance is what you leave for people. A legacy is what you leave in them. And so what can we do? What mark can we make that's going to outlive us for not just one generation, but two generations? You think about some people, we still talk about them decades later, hundreds of years later, you know.
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. I want to make those type of marks, you know.
Yeah. What's up, guys? So, doing a wonderful interview with two incredibly dope people, James Penn and Kayla Penn. They are two incredible entrepreneurs, and I say two because even though the father may have started with his entrepreneurship, Kayla now is on her journey as an entrepreneur as well. She's an author. She is really kind of like a speaker at this point too, and she's an athlete. And you have the father, who is a speaker, entrepreneur extraordinaire, and he does a bunch of different things. So, yeah, James and Kayla Penn, how you guys doing?
Man, doing great.
Good.
Good to be here with you, Travis Believes.
That's what's up. So, I want to start off with you. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Kayla, what made you want to get into track? Like, what got you started in the track?
I've been homeschooled and I just wanted to socialize with more people, and my dad said if you do good with school, you can run track the next year when I turn 10. So I was like, yes, let's get these A pluses. So I got my A pluses and now I am in track.
You like track?
Yes, it's one of my favorite things.
That's what's up. So, all right, now when you started running track, did you think that you would be able to turn it into a career? Or
No
were you
way.
you didn't think you could?
No.
So when you initially thought you just wanted to be a hobby, or
Yes. I didn't think that track could be a career.
when did you realize it could be?
I guess near Junior Olympics.
When you qualified for Junior Olympics? How did you feel when you qualified for Junior Olympics?
I felt very happy and felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going, because a lot of my friends were going and I wanted to be either too with them, and it was just something really amazing and happy, and I got medals. And
You got medals?
yeah.
So that's what's up. So quick question. Because I know she mentioned the homeschool aspect of it, when she qualified with her homeschool and you decided to let her run track, what made you choose track over all these other avenues?
Yeah, well, we had her involved in a lot of different activities growing up, and you know, me having an athletic background, despite my stature, right? Have an athletic background, I know the importance of what sports can teach you about life. I know the importance of that. So one of the things that we've done is kept her in a lot of different events. So she did swim lessons as a little baby, little gymnastics, but it was always non-competitive. And one of her swim instructors really said, you know, she has the build and the type for any type of sports. And so I just saw her running around her backyard one day and was like, wow, she's out there moving. I said, you know what? And that's when I approached her, like she said, and said, hey, listen, you know, I know we kept you in a lot of activities. We want to make sure we continue to give you that aspect and that outlet to be around other children. So keep your grades right and you'll be able to run. And she held up her end of the deal, so we held up our end of the deal.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question. What's your favorite workout? Do you have a favorite one?
My favorite workout would be when we're on break.
When you're on break? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I can respect that one. But you know the interesting thing about that is your rest is just as important as the workout, because your body has to rebuild. Your body has to repair what has been lost. And what happens is, as it repairs, it gets stronger because more come back, right? So that's actually a very important aspect of working out. So
Fake you out. You got it. She keeps you on your toes for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so here's something I did want to ask you. How did the idea of a book come around? Was it his idea, your idea? Whose idea was it?
I think it was a little bit more of my parents' idea because I was just like, wow, that was so cool and amazing. And I was just like telling everyone at like literally every track meet I went to, like, hey, listen to my story. Like while we're waiting in line, and my parents was like, idea.
That's a quote that you always say. What is it again? Do something that what?
Yeah. So it's either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. And so I feel like she's done both, right? She went out there and did something that was worth writing about, and then she wrote something worth reading about. And I think she's like a great example of that.
So when you guys decided to do the book, right? Is this something that she wrote herself, or is it something that you was involved in writing, or how did that process go?
Yeah, so with the process of that, again, the first thing was she had to write the story through her actions, right? And it really is a great journey because it was her first year running, and you know, I'll be the first to you know, let you know, everybody looks through at their children with rose-colored glasses. She wasn't the most extraordinary natural athlete, so she had to work really hard. Her secret power is her work ethic, and so, you know, for Junior Olympics, it's not something that every kid just goes to. You have to qualify for it. She missed the initial qualification. There's some things that happen there, some drama. You gotta
Spoilers.
Get the book to find out, right? No spoilers.
You just spoiled it.
Right? But she went out first and wrote the story through her action and living it out. And then we said, hey, you know what? You did something worth writing. Now let's actually put it into a book. And she actually sat down and wrote the book. She sat down and wrote things out. You know, it was helping her come up with the outline a little bit. And so after she wrote it in her first rendition of it in that draft, then we came back to the drawing board and said, okay, this is what you wrote. And of course, we helped her pull things out, had some other people come in and interview her and help pull things out. But I wanted to give her the first blank slate to just write it so she had that experience. And then as a team collectively, you know, we helped her bring more out of the story to make sure it was something great.
Wow, how does it feel to be an author at such an age? How old are you?
11.
You're 11 years old and you're an author. How does that feel?
It feels, for me, it feels normal. I don't know why, because this
You don't
isn't
know how
a
it
normal.
right.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that is you are 11 years old and you wrote more books than most adults.
She's wrote more books than me and you can buy.
So it's an interesting thing that you said about the work ethic part. So Zab Judah just did an interview where he talked about how he had more natural talent than Mayweather. But the difference between the two is that Mayweather outworked him so much. He said he went to go work out with Mayweather several times. And what happened was Mayweather was working out when he was sleeping. Mayweather would be like, yo, let's go run these 5 miles. And he'd be like, yo, you crazy, I'm not gonna go. And so the difference was that work ethic. So I think a very important point in what your dad just said was that work ethic is what separates you from everybody else. That work ethic, because Kobe Bryant too was another individual who would be the first one in the gym and the last one out. And that separated him from everybody else. So kind of like the saying that,
hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
There you go. Okay, so what do you think is the most important aspects you think to instill in a child for success? Because clearly you have a successful child, you have a talented child, a child that works hard. What are some of the aspects that you instilled in her in order to achieve these great things that she's doing now?
Yeah, I think it goes, start certainly with that work ethic aspect and just having a realistic expectation that you can achieve whatever you want. I don't think we have an issue in our culture, in our society here in the West, of encouraging children that you can do whatever you want. But that's not incorrect, but it's not necessarily, it's incomplete. It's not incorrect, but it's incomplete. You know, you can do whatever you want, but you can't do everything that you want, not at the same time.
Right.
Right? So as you referenced, you know, Zab Judah, you know, sleeping while Mayweather's training. You can sleep and you can train, but you can't sleep and train at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and there's going to be a trade-off. There's going to be a sacrifice. And so really teaching them with that work ethic, the sacrifice, I think a lot of times when we think of sacrifice, we only think of giving something up. But sacrifice is about giving something up in return for something else. And that's a component I think is really missing, is letting our children know that you're going to sacrifice this on this one end, but you're going to gain something on the other end. So the cool thing about our book is, in that journey of her first year in qualifying, there are all these type of lessons that she's learning along the way. And so at the end of every chapter, she's recapping these, different lessons that you have. And I know one of your favorite lessons from the book talks about the process of who you become along the way, right?
Because I didn't win medals, but I'm really happy of who I am.
Right?
Yes.
Right, who you become. So what do you hope to achieve in your track and field? You've already written a book. You are doing great things in track. What do you kind of like hope to achieve? What do you want to be, let's just say 2 years from now? Like, what do you hope to, you just want to get better at what you do? Tell me some of your goals, some of your ambitions.
I want to write more books, like different lines of books, and I also, next year, I actually want to qualify for the Junior Olympics, of course, and medal in one of my events or all of them in the Junior Olympics.
That's really good. Why do you want to write more books?
I think that as long as I'm still doing something, I will learn lessons about life, so what's stopping me from writing another book?
You're documenting the journey, documentation, and then you teach other people about it. That's dope. That's dope. Did you instill that in there?
Yeah, I strive to. I strive to. They say an inheritance is what you leave for somebody, but a legacy is what you leave in them. So to be able to document and leave things behind, for future generations, because she has something already at this age that's going to outlive her in a published book. So I think it's incredible.
How much of the journey was involved in that book? Like, so for example, she's talking about now how she wants to document a lot more that she's going to be learning. Was this the whole year that she documented and then she put in this book? What are people going to get out of this book when they read it?
Yeah, so it was really in retrospect, because again, when she started the season, we didn't have this idea. It was as season was closing, and the story again was really, really interesting, from her not qualifying initially to having a second shot and some different things, and it was like, wow, this is an amazing story. So in retrospect, we went back and wrote the book after the fact, and really again having a team, having some people come in, interview. There were interview sessions that drove her to tears, talking about some of the different experiences and really getting deep into that. So again, there were a lot of lessons. A lot of lessons that were pulled out of the journey, but it takes it through from the beginning, from first day of practice all the way to the last day of season. It's documented in that whole thing.
So one question, well, kind of two. What was the highlight of your first year running, and then what was the lowest point of your first year running?
So there's kind of like 3 parts to this. I'll tell you like them kind of short. So my highest point was getting to the Junior Olympics and qualifying and just running my best. I feel like I did bad, but I think I actually did do pretty good for my first year running track.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of myself, and that was,
should be.
think, my highlight. Yeah, that was the highlight of the year. And my lowest part is kind of 2 parts. So my old team kicked me off, and I was really upset, and I wasn't understanding stuff, so I was kind of just messed up in the brain, and I couldn't like count or anything. So that's kind of a little bit of the part why I couldn't qualify the first time.
It threw you off track.
Yeah.
So y'all started with a team and ended without a team? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so she started off running with a track organization, and by the end of the season, we ended up having her run unattached. And I think it was an important lesson for her to learn. Of course, we went into it, a big part was we wanted her to have that interaction with other kids and be a part of her team. Simultaneously, when we saw that the way we wanted to operate and the goals we had didn't align, it caused some friction, and we ultimately had to end up, going in different directions, but it turned out for the best, and it was a tough process for her to not be on that same team with her friends, but she got to learn lessons like, hey, if they're your friends, they're going to still be your friends, and she's still in contact with some of those children, and ultimately was still able to reach her goals that she wanted to reach, because again, there was just some different, it wasn't alignment into way how we wanted to operate, how they wanted to operate.
Got you. Ultimately, I think the idea of understanding your own journey, your own path, is always best, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's what's best for everybody else. It means it's what's best for you. And what's best for you is actually what's best for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it doesn't mean the way somebody else sees it. Somebody got to curtail and experience something in order to learn what you don't like or what you don't want or what isn't in alignment with. And that takes experience. And so, yeah, I track with that. That's it.
Here, let me just introduce you. What's happening?
What's up with it, man?
What's going on?
It's my man Travis.
Yeah.
Travis believes. This is Will Bradley. This is his spot right here.
This your spot, man?
This is my spot, man.
This your spot, man? What, you want to, you don't mind if I ask you a couple questions, man?
Let's do it.
All right, well, first of all, what's your name, man?
My name's Will Bradley.
Will Bradley.
Yes, sir.
So this is, that's what you were saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
I told you this. Yeah.
So Will Bradley, tell me a little bit about what you do, who you work with, and
Okay. So I'm a sports performance trainer. So what that consists of is helping athletes become better overall athletes so that when they go back to their given sport, they're a better piece to work with. And we do it through 3 different channels. So we do it through speed training, agility training, and strength training, right? And our whole goal is just to make the athlete more efficient in what they do. So you're going to do it one way or the other. You're going to do it the right way or you're going to do it the wrong way. We want to make sure you do it the right way so that you can maximize whatever gifts God gave you. That's what we do.
so tell me some people you work with.
Man, take your pick. I can tell you who we're currently working with. So we're working with Marshavette Hooker Flintoff. She's an Olympian. She's looking to make a run back at the Olympics. In the past, we've trained William Hayes, NFL, 11-year NFL vet. I can't tell you how many college athletes we have. Probably 20-plus Division I athletes. Basketball, but any sport, man, we work with them. So we've been blessed to be able to do that over the 15 years that we've been training athletes.
So if you had to pick the qualifications, or I say qualities, the mental qualities that it takes for somebody to be successful that you've seen, what are they? Top 2.
Greatness. So discipline and technique. Discipline and technique. So technique, because you got to be able to maximize whatever gifts you have. The discipline, you got to be able to do it with the correct technique over and over again. So if I had to pick 2 off the top of my head, that's what I'm going with.
So have you ever seen somebody that had amazing skill, but because they was like top-notch skill and they didn't have the discipline, they didn't make it to the next level?
Absolutely, man. I feel like Jadakiss said it best. It's a whole bunch of dudes up north better than Jordan that didn't get that break. You know what I'm saying? and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
So absolutely, we've had that. And then we've had athletes that you would have never thought would make it to the top, but just because of the sheer determination and discipline and the intangibles that you can't really see, was able to take them to the top. So absolutely.
So if somebody wanted to hire you, how would they do that?
Man, so the easiest way right now is just to contact us through our Instagram page at Will Bradley SP. You can do it through Twitter as well at Will Bradley SP. William Bradley Sports Performance is on Facebook, and phone number is 336-520-0590. So any of those ways, we'll be able to get you set up with a good training plan.
How often you up here, man? You up here all the time?
I'm up here 7 days a week.
He live here, man. He live here.
We grind. This is what we do.
So who do you find yourself most excited about training? What type of athlete?
I think we touched on it earlier. It's the athlete that wasn't supposed to have a chance to make it to the top. I feel like I was an overachiever in a sense. My background is I played high school football here at Page High School. From there, I walked on to Temple University up in Philadelphia. I played in the Big East. I was able to walk on there. I was able to earn a scholarship, and I was able to be the smallest Division I starter in the country my senior year. So I think that's what drives me. That's what gives me the passion to do what I'm doing. I know anything's possible if you have the right mindset. Also, resources now being in this game for 15 years, I understand that as well. And I just want sports to be able to do the things for these young athletes coming up that it was able to do for me.
So what? So seeing, because you see a lot of people go by the wayside, right? A lot of people in your position, they don't take advantage of the opportunities that they have. What was different about you? What made you take advantage of these opportunities?
Right. So deficiencies create greatness. And, I was an undersized guy, so I got cut from my middle school football team. So I was able to learn that lesson early at 13 years old, that being an undersized guy, I was going to have to do more than the next person. So a lot of times that comes with maturity. You're not going to understand that until you're 16, 17, 18. I was just lucky enough to be put in a situation at 13 to understand that, and that kind of shaped the way I approached athletics.
I remember the Jordan situation. When,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Jordan didn't make the team,
Right.
and then that used as a spur of the moment to,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying, take it to the next level. So that's the same exact mentality that you had
Yes, sir.
in order to take it to the next level.
Yes, sir.
How did you get back down here to do your thing in this?
Okay, so what happened was I actually started my senior year, so I didn't want to give football up. I had an NFL Pro Day I had to get ready for, but I had to finish my senior internship. So I was looking to kill two birds with one stone. This place used to be a franchise chain. It was one of the first ones strictly geared towards training athletes. I had a friend of mine who was running track at Baylor at the time. When I came home on one of my breaks, he brought me into the place and checked everything out. It was pretty cool. I was able to meet the guy that owned the facility and the guy that ran the sports performance aspect of what they do. So I just reached back out to those guys and told them I needed an internship, and they allowed me to intern here and train for free, so that was huge for me.
Yes. Listen, doing free work and doing all that is so valuable. I tell people all the time. You never know, because the things you're going to learn, the people you're going to meet, and the amount of work that's required to actually know what you need to do comes from that free work that you put in. And once you put in that free work and you get all those connections, then you can make your moves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's up, man. What's your name again, man?
Will Bradley.
Will Bradley, man. Pleasure meeting you, brother, man.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the interview.
Yeah. No, man. I'm you on my Rolodex, man.
Appreciate
You're on my
that.
Rolodex, man.
Yeah.
Man, appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah.
How long y'all been knowing each other, man?
Since whenever I brought,
How did you
Kayla
meet
in.
him? I mean, how'd you?
I mean, you start asking them. If you start asking around about
His
speed,
name pops up.
Yeah, if you ask about speed in this area,
That's the reputation thing.
Yeah. So
that's what's up, man.
Definitely fortunate, man. Definitely fortunate.
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
people, I'm definitely gonna plug your stuff in, but I gotta figure out a way to come do some trainings while I'm up here with this guy, man. This stuff sounds like some legendary stuff,
We
man.
got our adult fitness group rolling anyway, right?
Yeah.
So our catchphrase is, even though you don't play sports anymore, there's still a place for you in the lab. So
Bars.
Bars. That's his thing.
Whenever you're ready to come in,
Yeah.
you can definitely take care of that, man.
That's what's up, man. All right, man. I'm gonna take you up on that, man.
Absolutely. Do that.
Yeah. So
Pleasure, my brother.
Appreciate you.
Let's do it, man.
yeah,
How you doing, James?
doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to finally be on here with Travis Believes.
So, there's a couple questions I wanted to ask you. What do you're connected with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially on the East Coast. What are the top 3 qualities to be a successful entrepreneur?
So I think your vision has to be one in long term, right? I believe that the further out your vision is, the more successful you can be, because in your best estimates, when you go on this road of entrepreneurship, and your best estimates, say, hey, it's probably gonna take me this amount of money in this amount of time. It's probably gonna take you twice as much money in 3 times as much time. So you're gonna have to have a vision that's really out long term. The longer term your vision is, the more successful you could be. So you see, you have the very poor. They think day to day, standing on corners, and what am I going to eat today? The vision is for today. Where am I going to sleep tonight? I got to get to the shelter, right? And then you have people who are of a lower socioeconomic status, and they're thinking week to week. You see they pay for like furniture, the weekly payment plans on furniture. It's not a good financial place to be in. Then the average person thinks month to month. I got to pay my bills this month, my mortgage this month. But when we think of like people being successful, you have to have long-term vision. Not making long-term decisions based off of short-term situations, where you're making decisions based off of a year from now, 5 years from now. Global corporations are planning on where are we going over the next decade. So I think vision is certainly one of those things. And then ambition. Ambition, I simply define that as you want more out of life. And that's a forever progression, right? I believe that we were instilled with this DNA to go forward and multiply. And so it's this balance of always having appreciation and gratitude and never being satisfied at the same time. It almost feels like a dichotomy there, but you have to have a certain level of ambition of wanting more out of life. If you're content, with where you are, I don't think you're going to have the drive to get out there and become an entrepreneur. Some people think they'll do what it takes to be an entrepreneur, for a new car or for a house. I don't think you'll do it for a car. I don't think you'll do it for a house. I think you'll do it for a new car. But at some point, like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan that they get hit in the mouth. At some point, life is going to hit you in the mouth. This entrepreneur journey is going to hit you in the mouth. And if it's not something bigger, something more that you're doing it for, it's not some type of ambition, you're not going to do it. So vision, number one, ambition, number two, and then tenacity. Tenacity is number three. And I think that's probably, for me, one of my stronger assets is just having this delusion to failure, this tenacity that over under through, I'm going to make it. Success isn't something you go out there and obtain a grasp. Success is something you attract to yourself by the person you become. And so every hurdle, every obstacle, every pothole that I go through, I'm delusional to failure. And I believe, hey, that's just something that needed to teach me something to become the type of person I need to become to attract that success to myself.
So when did you begin your journey, and why did you start the journey of entrepreneurship? Why not just work a 9 to 5?
I go back to, being a child. And so, I got interesting upbringing. I think everybody probably thinks that about themselves for sure. But, I grew up on government assistance, grew up, one of the smallest people in class and all those type of things. But even with that upbringing, I still thought, when I get older, life's gonna be amazing. I'm in high school, 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing. And I think I'm going to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Over to about the 8th or 9th grade, and you ask me, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? Hey, I'm going to the NFL, right? I actually think I could have made it if I was a little bit smaller. I'd have been the perfect size football. They could have just thrown me around, right? I'd have been on. Only thing that kept me from making it was skill and talent. Those are only two things, man. Outside of that, I was a shoo-in. But after I started realizing, okay, I'm probably not going to go to the NFL, right? We think of like maybe as you're approaching college or college age, and when we're kids, we say, I'm going to go to the NFL, I'm going to be the president, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer. And then you start to lose a little bit of this idea of going after something that lofty and great. But you still had this romanticized idea of what life is going to be like. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, maybe I won't go to the NFL, but you know what? I'm going to go to college, I'll graduate, have a great job. It'd be something I love to do. I make plenty of money. I'll be able to go where I want to go, drive where I drive. Life's going to be amazing, even though I'm not in the NFL. And then I graduated college, did everything they taught me to do, went to school, got an education, got a job, and I found myself broke. I was broke. My wife was broke because she was married to me. I owed everybody in the world money except for you because I hadn't met you yet. And, I was really, really frustrated. And I was kind of jaded at the advice I got. Everybody told me, go to school, go to college. Don't worry about how you're going to pay for it, because I was scared of student loans. Like, how am I going to pay for college? Just like, get student loans, don't worry about it, And I had student loan debt up to my eyeballs. I'm short, there's still a lot of debt. And then I was like, I did everything y'all taught me to do, and here I am broke. And so I got introduced to, another path. Like, hey, you don't have to just work a job, the 40-40-40, work for 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40% of what you were struggling to make it off of in the first place. Like, there is another option. And so when I was climbing the ladder of corporate America, and I realized it was leaning against the wrong building, I didn't climb down, I jumped off. And I saw that, an entrepreneur is the type that I would rather work 80 hours a week for myself than 40 hours a week for somebody else.
Ooh. How important is legacy building? How important is building generational wealth? Like, how important is it? Like, why is this something that, because this is like a tagline people like talking about. Like, well, what makes this so important? And how do you do it?
Yeah, well, so for me, it's an obligation based off of my upbringing. So when I was 18 months old, my mom divorced my dad, and he didn't take it so well. And he came up with a sawed-off shotgun, and he shot my mom while she was holding me in her arms. And so, I was shot in my right hip with a sawed-off shotgun at 18 months old. I mean, think of that. Think of the size of an 18-month-old baby taking that type of brain. I still have pellets in my leg right now, right? And so, doctor said I wasn't going to live, I was going to be here, And they said, well, we could save him, but they were this close to amputate my leg. He'll be able to walk, we want to be able to run, and of course, I'm still here. Fortunately, my mom is still here as well. But it really shaped my life, and I think of this story of two brothers who one they had a pretty tough upbringing, and one of them ends up in prison. One of them ends up, as a CEO of a company, and they go to the one in prison and said, say, hey, you've had a life of crime and you've done, a lot of different things and hurt a lot of different people. And he's like, well, you don't know how I grew up. My father did this. I had this situation, that circumstance. What else was I supposed to do? And they go to the CEO, who's, doing well financially, has a great family life, doing a lot of philanthropy, and they say, how did you do this? And he says, well, I grew up with abusive father, and I experienced this, and I experienced that, a lot of negative things. What else did you expect for me to do? And so that was kind of my mindset is, as bad as the experience I had with my dad, I had to more than equal that and surpass that on the good side with my children. And so this might not be the most altruistic or noble thing. I think it's really, maybe some of it's driven by ego, but I want to be immortal in some sense, right? Most people, you do something and like your children might remember you and maybe a generation after that, but after a generation or two, your memory here of existence fades away.
Forgotten.
You're forgotten.
Yeah.
And so the only way to live on is by leaving a legacy, right? And that legacy is more, we talk a lot about leaving an inheritance, and I believe you should do that as well. Have financial things in place to be responsible for your family, leave an inheritance for your children and your children's children. But an inheritance is what you leave for people. A legacy is what you leave in them. And so what can we do? What mark can we make that's going to outlive us for not just one generation, but two generations? You think about some people, we still talk about them decades later, hundreds of years later.
Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. I want to make those type of marks,
Yeah.
So
if you were speaking to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to go to the school that I went to and make sure I marry the same woman. Right? Get those points in, right? There's not really anything I think I would change in my path. So I would probably just want to encourage myself that path that I'm on and everything that I'm going to go through. Hey, listen, you're going to hit some bumps and bruises and. But just have that tenacity, to go forward. This is like one of those philosophical things about the butterfly effect. I would be a little afraid to say too much. As much as I want to tell myself, invest in Apple, buy some Bitcoin. As much as I want to do that, would I meet my wife? And if I didn't meet my wife, would I have the same children? I might meet someone and marry them, but I wouldn't have those same children, that same wife. So, I would just really just try to, and give some encouragement to myself to, hey, stick on the path, and that it reinforced again. In the end, you win. Failure's never fatal unless it's final, and you can determine if it's final.
If you were talking to somebody that was struggling right now, that was lost in life, they didn't have a job, didn't know what to do, what would you tell them?
And my experience is never as tough as you think it is in that moment. And that's easy to say when you're not in the moment. And so here's the thing about advice. It's not that the person give you an advice, maybe it's so much smarter, has so much more wisdom. Sometimes they do. But just by mere fact that they're not in that perspective at the moment, just by mere fact they're looking at it from a different perspective, they can tell you something that you don't know. So if I was in a sky helicopter and you're in traffic and I'm like, hey, you take the next exit because it's clogged up ahead. And you're like, it looks clear to me. I have a different perspective than you. You should probably take that. So just by mere fact that I'm not emotionally attached to your situation. See, if you're in a tough space right now, struggling, and there's a lot going on, you're emotionally attached to this. And even if it was a friend of mine, I have empathy, I feel that, but I'm gonna go back to my home, my life, and my family, and I'm thinking about dinner and all the things. I'm not going to be thinking about your life. So I'm more emotionally detached, so I can give you clear advice. So in those instances where, things are going tough, and I've been there where, foreclosure, been there, done that. Repossession, been there, done that. Don't know where my next meal is coming from, having a wife and having to take her to my job because we have a fitness facility there and we can go work out, but we just really need to go take showers. I've been through all of those different moments, and I talk about it even with a half smile on my face now. At the time, it wasn't that way. It felt like it was a long time. It felt like it was so tough. And so I don't want to, when people are going through things, please don't hear me wrong. I don't want to diminish the challenge, that is. But it's teaching you something. They say life is a strange teacher. It gives you the test first and afterwards the lesson. So it's teaching you something.
Bars.
And you're going to continue to repeat that test over and over until you get the lesson from it. So while you're in it, it's not going to last as long as you think it's going to last if you pay attention to studying the test and the lesson that it's trying to teach you right there. The best days of your past are the worst days of your future.
The best days of your past are the worst days of your future.
Yeah.
Break that down.
So it's about designing a life so amazing that when you look back and you think of some of the best days you've had in the past, imagine your future being so bright that that's the worst days of your future.
Oh, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
That's dope. No, I agree. When you elevate your life, I would say, how do you create your best experience? You create your best experiences by being your best self. If you continue to increase yourself every single day, you create a bomb future for yourself, a bomb life, bomb health, bomb relationships. Then what was happening in the past, the struggles that you went through, the highs that you consider high, will be normal. And then the highs that you have now and the experiences that you have now are so beyond what you thought you could achieve before. And yeah, that's crazy.
It's absolutely. We really have to embrace and understand that where you are is not who you are. That person is struggling. Like, you got to know where you are is not who you are. Where you are is just an appointment you made in the past to meet your current self. And so I used to say, you can't change your life in a moment, but you can change the direction of your life in a moment. That's what I used to say. That's what I used to say, right? But I revised it because I thought about it. You can change your life in a moment. I can change my life right now. You can change your life right now with a decision. If you decide and you believe, right? If you decide something differently, like when you think of decide, something dies, decide, right? Like pesticide, suicide, homicide, something dies. You decide, you kill off all other options. And right in that moment, your life is different. Now, you can't change your circumstances and your situations in a moment. Right? But your current circumstances, situations are not because of who you are right now. Your current circumstances, situations are because of who you were in the past. So you can change who you are right now. It may take some time for the bank account to catch up, the relationships to catch up. It may take some time for the manifestation of the circumstances, situations, but your life can change right now in a moment.
I think that's all that needs to be said, homie, man. You killed that. You killed that, man. Listen, so, all right. I like doing these interviews for one reason. I want people to get a perspective of not only how to change your life, but to understand it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, what your challenges are, you can do it. You can overcome it. All these people that I talk to are people that have done it. They lived that life. Real entrepreneurs that either had incredible struggles or people that have achieved things that that either we want to achieve or accomplish, things that we want to accomplish, or just some people that you can look up to and learn lessons from. So just always remember that your current situation is not your final destination. You create that future for yourself. And everything I'm saying, everything that you're hearing from these other people, everything you're hearing from James Penn today, these are all things you can apply to your life to create and design what you want your future to be, and to never be satisfied with failure, but to be content and happy with who you can become. Always create that idea of who do I want to be 5 years from now, who do I want to be 10 years from now, and have that be an inspiration for you now in your current form. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you guys in the next vlog.